Okie dokie. All right. Well, leading into episode 24 here of What Lights Your Fire, I just want to say I ain't been up on the block in a minute, but that's okay. Because I'm staring at nice shrubbery, greenery in front of me right now outside my window. Um, a nice nature scene, a nice stream in front of me. There's some plants on the windowsill. So I'm feeling surrounded by nature. And obviously, nature prevails around the world. So I want to first give a shout out on this 24th episode of What Lights Your Fire to my friends around the world, especially in Oman, the Philippines, and Thailand. All right. Now, this is random. Yes, I know. But recently I was sent an email to my inbox from podstatus.com. Thank you to my friends over there. Thank you, Carlos, from Podstatus, for letting me know that I am ranked in the top 100 self-help podcasts in Oman. So shout out all my friends in the Middle East and Oman. God bless you. Um, you know, that's pretty cool, honestly. I'd make a lot of jokes, especially because I don't really think what I say has a lot of meaning sometimes and has a lot of weight to it. But that does make me a little bit, it's kind of interesting to me that I'm, able to have a little bit of outreach over the world, across the pond, as we like to say here. But yeah, so shout out my friends over there in Oman and the Thailand and Philippines crew as well. Not as highly ranked, 247 in Thailand, but we're top 100 in Oman. And shout out my friends over there. But this is What Lights Your Fire, and obviously, if you're from Oman, you freaking know it. But this is What Lights Your Fire. It is a self improvement, motivational podcast, as to which I kind of tend to, bring up topics that inspire me throughout the week that continue to, well, light my fire. And recently, I think I mentioned it. I honestly forgot what I said 2 minutes ago already. I was too focused on my friends in Oman and the Philippines and Thailand to remember if I said I did recently move. That's why I haven't really been posting much. Haven't had time to just sit down and make an episode. But recently I was recently kind of just going through kind of like a bad mood, sort of say. Like I don't know how to describe it, but supposedly, no, supposedly, I was going through a bad mood. Okay, that's just hearsay. We don't know if that's true or not. But I was just going through I was kind of in a bum mood the other day, and I don't know why. And oftentimes when that happens to me, I get frustrated. I get frustrated because sometimes I just, those kind of moods come upon you, and you're like, damn, what the like. At least for me, it's like, damn, what am I doing, to cause myself to feel like this? And I kind of sat with it for a while, and I wasn't able to figure it out. And then, I was, I go to church on Sunday. I came back from church, and I was like sitting down, and I was just like, you know, what am I gonna do about this? And then it kind of hit me, the realization, that point in your day where you're like, boom, something clicks. And what clicked with me was that I was feeling fear. I was afraid. Now, what was I afraid of? I wasn't afraid of any outside force. I wasn't afraid of outside influence of anything of the sort. I was afraid of myself. And then what was I was thinking in my brain was causing me to be fearful and afraid. And that wasn't to say that I was, you know, like I said, afraid of any sort of threat or violence or anything like that. I was just afraid. And having that feeling of fear, it really made me feel weird for a little bit. It's almost, it's kind of coincides with anxiety. But I don't really ever experience that as much, thankfully. I don't feel that feeling too often. Obviously, I do because I'm human, but I don't feel it as often as maybe other people do. And so when it does hit me, it's kind of like a gut punch. It's this little sucker punch where it's like, damn, what's wrong with me? I wasn't feeling that day. I wasn't feeling like doing much, and I wasn't feeling like necessarily talking about it, and I wasn't necessarily feeling very motivated. But something clicks, right? And when you feel, this is something that I heard from a guy named Jordan Peterson. He's kind of like he's a I don't know if he's a professor or not, but he's a influential like kind of speaker guy. One of those guys that's like really well spoken, and he has a lot of good tips on kind of like self improvement as well. But he was saying, he's talking about fear, he's talking about anxiety, and it made me think of, this is why I'm talking about this right now, is because I understood how to respond to what I was feeling after I realized what I was feeling, right? And it's hard sometimes to do this, what I'm about to say, and I don't know if I've talked about this before on this podcast. I might have lost track if I have or not, but this is a main point in the episode for me, is that fear is something to be embraced. It is not something to run from, because when you run from it, you only increase that anxiety that you feel. And it doesn't matter what you're fearful of. It doesn't matter what you're afraid of. For me, most times I'm afraid that I'm not enough, or I'm afraid I'm not good enough at something, that I could always be better at something, right? That's for me. But I realize that if I'm going to want to be better at something, if I'm going to want to be, the best version of myself at something, I can't just be fearful of possibly escaping that, best alternative or best version of me or whatever. I have to embrace it. I have to embrace why I'm feeling like that. And then when I do, I say, screw that. I'm going to give my best. And then that will be the best that I can be. And I won't have any fear left because I will have embraced it. I will have, encountered it, acknowledged it, but then let it go, because I don't need to hold on to fear. Fear should not be a motivator. I know that's a phrase that a lot of people use. Fear is a motivator, but I really don't think it is, because if you're afraid of something and you say, oh no, oh my God, I have to do this, so I have to do this, and I have to do this, I think that you're going to spiral out of control, and I think that you're going to eventually kind of, fold in on yourself, because if you're just afraid and afraid and afraid, you can't you can't really ever change that feeling. You kind of just continue on to the next thing after maybe you succeed, right? But then what? Are you still afraid of the next thing to come, the next step, the next advancement? No. So that's why I kind of hate that phrase, fear is a motivator, but in a sense, that's what I'm talking about here. But what I think is you should embrace the fear, acknowledge it, and then let it go. Just let it go, because, life is so short. If you live most of it being afraid, you're going to miss all the good things that come along the journey, right? And that's also a phrase that gets thrown around a lot, which, it's fine. It's, about the journey, not the destination, which I do agree. It's both. But if you can hear that little jingling, that is the sound of the most gorgeous little kitty on the planet, Bonnie, who's coming over and purring right now. But she's not going to distract me yet. I'll give her pets in a couple minutes. But as I was saying, Jordan Peterson, he has this thing where he's talking about how do we, clinically, how do people embrace fear, and how do we help people embrace their anxieties? We break it down into little pieces. So, you lay it all out. What are you anxious for? So for me, that day a couple days ago, what was I anxious for? Well, frankly, like I said, not good enough about something, or not being able to be enough. So if you've been following the show, I have an academic school year coming up. I'm going into veterinary school, and it is, it's a challenging program. It's a very challenging program. It's, I obviously have I'm not, I'm not going into this blind, so I don't know how, I'm not saying I don't know how hard it is, right? I obviously know how hard it is, and I like that, because I like challenge. I like being able to throw myself into adversity. But to say that, that comes with no fear, or that comes with, no anxiety, would be to say that I'm not human. And I most certainly am. I'm not, I'm not the ultimate warrior. I'm not the ultimate warrior. I wish I was, but I'm not. I can't just take everything, and then boom, boom, boom. I'm going to keep doing this. Boom, I'm going to do the best. Boom. Sometimes I think to myself, I'm like, man, this is a hard program. What if I don't do well, right? And so that's what it stemmed from, and that's an example I'm giving you. So I'm laying it all out. I'm laying all that anxiety out. What if I'm not good enough? What if I don't have good study patterns? What if I don't, what if I don't make good friends with my peers, or maybe I'm not a good helping hand in study, or whatever, all those things, lay it all out at once, and then you break it down into each piece. So for me, like, let's break it down, right? So maybe I'm not good enough. Well, the acceptance rate is very low. I've already gotten accepted, right? So there is some inclination that I'm going to, I'm set up for success, right? They don't just accept people just to accept people. They don't want your money just for having your money. They want to build a profession, which I do as well, and which as I think, that should give me confidence, right? So that broke a little bit fear off. All right, I'm set up for success already. It's going to be hard, but putting in the work, putting in the effort, putting in the time, and most importantly, putting into the, self, kind of, I guess, self-care, you could say, but, watching my attitude towards life and watching everything as I go along, because I'm more than school, that's going to build me, right? And that's going to help build the profession as well. And so that's a piece of anxiety already broken off, at least in my heart. And so this is just I'm just kind of showing, for anyone who might be going through a period of anxiety in their life, or a big life change, or fear, like I was saying. There's reasons why I'm talking about this stuff. And obviously the people in I'm gonna keep bringing this up because I'm really proud about this. Obviously the people in Oman understand that there is a reason that I keep bringing this stuff up. But so keep moving forward, right? You break it into pieces. So there's that feeling that whatever, I'm not good enough. Boom. All right, I'm set up for success. So that breaks off a little piece of anxiety. Oh, what if I'm not, going to have good study patterns? Well, they, obviously have suggestions for how you should study. And how I study, in other courses that are easier is not going to translate necessarily, right? So I have to break that down. Well, if I'm to understand and to comprehend the material the best I can, I would like to, adapt a study pattern that works for me. So it's obviously overwhelming if you look at it from a glance. But what I've looked at now and what helped me break it down was to understand the academic calendar, understand, okay, they've given me a layout of day by day what we're going to go through. So I can focus on one day at a time. So I'm going to focus on the first day of classes first and understand that that there's a plethora of study options out there. And there's people like me who've gone through this program before. They've written blogs about how they've studied. They've given their testimonies as to how they've tried to succeed and how they did succeed. So I'm focusing on that kind of attitude. And if they can do it, why the hell can't I do it, right? That's the attitude I have towards everything, because, I'm an ordinary guy. I'm a very ordinary dude, but I have the ability to do extraordinary things, and so do you. So that's why I'm going to focus on that as well, and that eases a little bit more in my anxiety and my fear of not being good enough to succeed. So if you can see where I'm getting at, this is the whole emphasis of today's episode. Break down your fear, embrace it, and then realize you can let it go. Because fear will creep in, and it will creep in. But when it does, you do not have to run away from it. You can say, oh, hey, how you doing? How you doing? You want some tea? How about some crackers, Make yourself at home for a second, but guess what? In about 20 minutes, you gotta split. All right? Because I got shit to do. And when you say, it's easy to say one thing, and it's harder to do it. And I've said that before, and I'm sure everyone said that in their life. It's easy to say, it's hard to do, right? But when you actually do that first step, everything gets easier. So, I encourage you this week, if you have you have a task at hand, or you have a task at work, or whatever that's making you feel anxious, or even, frankly, you're just like me, where you don't like being an idle body, and you are in a period where you're just like resting, or you don't have any, I don't know, say you're a student or something like that and you're on summer break. Find what makes you happy this week and try and focus on the time you have to just hang out, the time you just relax, because there will be upcoming fears and anxieties with the challenges of the academic year ahead, and that's fine. But being able to focus on the moment and being able to say, okay, I'll embrace fear when it hits me instead of running away from it prior to, I think that's a good pragmatic way to embrace it. And then, just like I said, if you're I don't really know what your guys' roles in life are. But if you can take anything away from this, and if you can take anything away from fear and anxiety, because I know everyone feels it, even if they don't understand what it is. It's an important thing to talk about because I feel like for me, I never really tried to think about it, and I kind of just retrospectively understand that I did have a lot of it at certain times in my life, and I still do. But I like to just kind of take the road where a lot of the time my motivation stems from, you know, like I said earlier, being the best version of myself I can be. And so I think that that's where all that anxiety can come from is, not being the best or not being the best of what I could have done, right? So, try and think of kind of the things that most bring you that fear this week. And if you can think of them and you can embrace them and try and break them down bit by bit as to why. Okay, why? Why is this here? How is there a solve? How's there a solvent for this? How's this chemical solution going to? How's there a solution to fixing, that constant urge to want to, or not want, but that constant urge to think to yourself, oh my God, I have this and this and this and this, and I have this and this and this. It's overwhelming. I know you don't want to keep experiencing it. So, I've probably talked long enough. This might be a little shorter of an episode, but I just wanted to say, big shout out to those listening in Oman on Apple Podcasts and, Spotify or whatever. And big shout out to the Thailand people and the Philippines as well. And also, anyone else in the world. Most likely a couple people, right? Not too big. I can't imagine the self improvement podcast market is insanely large, especially overseas for English speakers, I guess. But I'm proud of it nonetheless, and I miss you guys. I miss chit chatting, so I'll try my best to do it once a week. And I know last time I said something about golfing. I think I said the stem of the episode was going to be let's go golfing. I honestly completely lost what I was going to say. But Papa's got a tea time at 1:39 today. So maybe I'm on time with that. Maybe there was a reason. And I'm about to watch Caddyshack to prepare myself. So, if that can give you any sort of inclination as to my day, that's just what I got. So, hope you have a great day as well. I'm trying to think of, I can never plan well, but there's a quote from a movie about fear that I was gonna, that's whatever. It ain't no thing but a thing. But I guess I'll run back to the same guy that I normally do, right? You already know who it's gonna be. You can go ahead and take a guess. Do 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 do. Wrong, Brian Dawkins. So when he's running out on that field, right? He used to say all the time, "I'm feeling, that feeling in my chest. That feeling in my chest, it gets me going, And I turn into this different person, right? He turns into Weapon X, and I think that thing in his chest is the same raw emotion that you feel when you're afraid. And he chose to embrace it every Sunday, right? And so whenever you step out onto your metaphorical field, whenever you put your pads on, right? Put your football pads and your knee pads and all that crap. And you realize, you got you got a tough road ahead, right? You got the Giants in New York. You got the Patriots at whatever their field, Gillette Stadium, on a Sunday night, and you got to go lay a hit down. All right. So, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna crawl, into the corner and cry? No, you're gonna let that feeling, that raw nervousness, not build and build and build. You're gonna break it down piece by piece, and you're gonna go absolutely lights out on Sunday night. So, that's just me. That's just who I am, and that's just what I say. And that's oh man, I'm really a weird dude, but that's okay. I I hope you guys have a great week. Stay ready for the next phase of your life, wherever you be. And just know I'm proud of you. And I'm rooting for you. I will talk to you in episode 25. And I think that 25. I haven't taken Spanish in a while, but I really need to. You know what? Duolingo. We're going to hop on that this week. God bless everybody. Catch you next time.